Addiction's a bit of a blind spot for me, sort of oddly, because I sometimes think I'm clever, but then sometimes it's revealed to me that I'm not because my behaviour's so dumb.
Russel Brand was once the rock star of British comedy, an electric presence with unkempt hair, a lyrical way of speaking, and a reputation for mischief that blurred the lines between art and outrage.
I felt powerful among men because other men knew that I would sleep with a lot of women.
In the early 2000s, he seemed unstoppable. Fired from MTV for dressing as Osama bin Laden the day after 9/11, he bounced back. Suspended from BBC Radio 2 for an on-air prank targeting 78-year-old actor Andrew Sachs, he resigned in a blaze of headlines, only to land on bigger stages soon after. But in 2025, the punchlines have stopped. The man who once reveled in chaos is now surrounded by something far more serious. The UK's Crown Prosecution Service has formally charged him with 5 criminal sexual offences. 1 count of rape, 1 count of oral rape, 1 count of indecent assault, 2 counts of sexual assault, 4 women, 5 charges.
He's grabbing at my underwear, pulling it to the side. I'm telling him to get off me, and he won't get off.
These aren't allegations buried in the back pages of tabloids. They're legal charges, soon to be tested in a courtroom. Brand is set to appear at Westminster Magistrates Court on May 2nd. Whether you once admired him or found him unbearable, his story now forces an uncomfortable question into the spotlight. Who is Russel Brand, really? And how did he get away with so much for so long? Russel Brand's early career wasn't a gentle ascent. It was a firework display of controversy. His comedy was raw, sexually explicit, and intentionally provocative. His interviews were unpredictable. He built a persona rooted in excess. Drugs, sex, and scandal were part of the act. But it wasn't just an act. He was open about his addictions and boasted frequently about his conquests, reportedly claiming to have slept with hundreds of women. His candor, equal parts poetic and perverse, only made him more magnetic to fans and more profitable to the entertainment industry. Even when he crossed serious lines, such as the 2008 Saxgate incident with Jonathan Ross, where they left vulgar voicemails on air about Brand's alleged sexual encounter with Sax's granddaughter.
Now when you were doing a granddaughter,
He was seen as cheeky rather than cruel. He wasn't cancelled. He was rewarded. Hollywood came calling. In America, Brand found a new stage. With roles in films like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Get Him to the Greek, and Arthur, he made the leap from UK cult hero to global comedy star. Yet, woven through the charm was always a disturbing thread, an obsession with sexual dominance, and a repeated disregard for boundaries, both personal and professional. Despite his popularity, Brand wasn't universally respected within the comedy world. Behind the scenes, his reputation was polarizing.
People protected him and people didn't say anything. And the only person who said anything was Daniel Sloss. He spoke on the record. He said he'd heard the rumors more than 10 years ago. He said that female comics had set up online groups that they used to warn each other privately.
Many comedians and insiders have since spoken out about the unease they felt around him. Scottish comedian Daniel Sloss said the silence around predators in the entertainment industry was well known.
He feels like the only way for male comics to stop this is to call people out by name.
Though he didn't name names, his comments came at a time when Brand's name was on everyone's lips. Comedian Sophie Hagen, among others, has talked about the whisper networks within comedy, informal warnings passed from performer to performer, especially about men whose behavior made women uncomfortable. Brand was seen by many not as a misunderstood genius, but as someone to steer clear of. In 2010, Brand married global pop sensation Katy Perry. The world watched with fascination as the wild man of comedy wed the pop princess. But the relationship was far from a fairy tale. Perry later revealed the relationship was marked by emotional manipulation. She said Brand was deeply controlling and that he ended their marriage via text message, just hours before she was due to perform. "Let's just say I learned a lot," she remarked in later interviews, refusing to divulge more but implying deeper issues behind the scenes. The marriage lasted just over a year. After the split, Brand began distancing himself from Hollywood and mainstream media. He pivoted instead towards spiritualism, political activism, and eventually, conspiracy theories.
It's through spiritual practice that I've recognised that my own impermanence, my own irrelevance, in fact, I'm just a person shuffling through life. I ain't really no different now from when I was a little kid.
By 2013, Brand had fully transformed. He launched The Truths, a YouTube show offering anti-establishment commentary. He wrote books about political revolution, addiction recovery, and spiritual awakening. He spoke out against capitalism and mass media, presenting himself as a man reborn, a truth teller awakened from the fog of fame. Yet the irony didn't go unnoticed. The same man who once joked about degrading women was now branding himself as a moral authority. As his distrust of mainstream media deepened, so did his audience's loyalty. During the pandemic, he leaned hard into vaccine skepticism and government distrust. Eventually, YouTube demonetized his content. In response, he migrated to Rumble, a platform known for welcoming figures exiled from mainstream platforms. His fans followed, and so did the money. Looking back now, some of the clearest warning signs were in his own books. In My Bookie Wook, Brand wrote with unsettling openness about his exploits. He described women in objectifying, often dehumanizing terms. He recounted one incident where he exposed himself to a woman on the street, writing about it as a joke. In another story, he talked about coercing women into threesomes, laughing off their discomfort. What was once marketed as honest or raw now reads like a confession of misogyny. In Articles of Faith, Brand seemed to reflect on some of this behavior. But even then, it was with a tone that often deflected, rather than took full responsibility. He called himself a love addict and spoke about devouring women, as if his behavior was a byproduct of emotional intensity rather than a repeated abuse of power. At the time, these passages were brushed off as part of his bad boy brand. But now, revisiting them with fresh eyes, they raise uncomfortable questions. How much of the truth was hiding in plain sight, dressed up as performance? In 2023, a bombshell joint investigation by the Sunday Times, The Times, and Channel 4's Dispatches pulled back the curtain. 4 women came forward with allegations of rape, emotional abuse, and coercive control. Their stories were detailed, harrowing, and consistent. One woman claimed Brand raped her at his Los Angeles home.
He grabbed me and got me on the bed. I was fully clothed and he was naked at this point, and he held me down and he was just aggressively trying to, fuck me.
Another said she was just 16 when he began a relationship with her, describing how he referred to her as the child and became possessive. Screenshots, text messages, and corroborating accounts supported their claims. Others began to speak up too. Danny Minogue once famously called Brand a vile predator. Vanessa Feltz recounted how Brand made sexually explicit comments about her daughters, live on television as she sat next to him. In April 2025, the Crown Prosecution Service charged Brand with multiple criminal offenses: rape, oral rape, indecent assault, and 2 counts of sexual assault. These were no longer stories shared in the shadows. They were legal cases headed to trial. In response, Brand was spotted in Florida attending an Easter Sunday church service. Whether an act of repentance or public performance remains unclear. Back in the UK, institutions distanced themselves. Women's mental health charity Trevi suspended his ambassadorship. YouTube demonetized his channel. His books began quietly disappearing from retailers. Even Noel Gallagher, once Brand's close friend, reportedly cut ties. Yet his Rumble channel continued to thrive. Proof that controversy, in the age of alternative media, is not a career ender, but sometimes a business model. Russel Brand's trial begins on May 2nd. It will be a legal test, but also a cultural one. Can fame still shield the powerful from accountability? Or will this be the moment the system finally says, enough? The red flags were always there. In his books, in his jokes, in the uneasy silences of those who knew him. But for too long, Brand was protected by a media industry that confused performance with personality and controversy with charisma. This is no longer about one man's guilt. It's about a culture that allowed him to thrive. This is humanity. Subscribe for more deep dives into the darker side of fame, power, and the public figures we thought we knew.